Hi everyone, my name is Kathy Maglalang, a Doctor of Communication student at the University of the Philippines, Open University, and currently working as an instructor at Mindoro State University. Today, I'll be presenting the third topic in Module 4, Collective Behavior and Resource Mobilization, as part of our team's Build a Movement series in COM 380 under Dr. Melinda de la Peña Bandalaria. We have reached the third level. Over the past two videos, our team has built a movement from the ground up. We have found the cause and explored the theories. If you have been collecting your resource cards along the way, you have two so far. I have the honor of presenting Level 3, Section C, Gather Strength, where we earn the third card, the War Chest, and tackle another important question. Do leaderless digital movements confirm resource mobilization theory, or break it? So, let's dive in. Thanks to Jai, Playbook in hand, I'm Kathy Maglalang and this is Level 3 Gathering Strength. Every movement needs a war chest, so let's talk about resources. Thanks to Jai, Playbook. By the end of this segment, you'll be able to explain resource mobilization theory, distinguish material from non-material resources, and judge whether today's leaderless digital movements confirm or challenge the theory. In the last segment, we learned that grievances alone don't make a movement, so what does? For much of modern social movement scholarship, the decisive answer is resources. And that's the heart of the theory I'm going to explore with you now. Resource mobilization theory. It's arguably the single most influential framework in the whole field, and understanding it will change how you see every protest and campaign you encounter. Resource mobilization theory was developed by John McCarthy and Meyer Zold in landmark 1977 paper. They made a claim that was at the time quite radical. They argued that grievances are more or less constant in society. There's always something to be aggrieved about. So grievances cannot by themselves explain why a movement emerges at one moment rather than another. Instead, McCarthy and Zold said the crucial variable is access to and control over. This was a genuine turning point. The Solemn Press Overview, Theories of Social Movement, situates resource mobilization theory as a decisive break from the older collective behavior tradition. And that older tradition tended to treat movements and crowds as spontaneous, emotional, even irrational outbursts. Resource mobilization theory flipped that on its head. It treated movement participants as rational actors making strategic decisions, and it treated movements themselves as something closer to organizations, entities that need to recruit members, raise funds, and manage resources to survive and grow. This is sometimes described as a shift from seeing movements as mobs to seeing them as organizations. So, what exactly counts as a resource? This is where the theory becomes really practical. Drawing on the resource mobilization literature, we can divide resources into two broad categories, material and non-material. Material are tangible assets such as money, organizations, manpower, technology, and the means of communication and access to mass media. Meanwhile, non-material are those that are intangibles, legitimacy, loyalty, social relationships and networks, personal connections, public attention, authority, moral commitment, and solidarity. And a movement of plenty of money but no legitimacy will struggle. And a movement with deep moral authority but no organizational capacity may never get off the ground. The Lumen materials add one more concept that worth knowing, the idea of a social movement industry where multiple organizations pursue the same broad goal, say several different environmental groups, they collectively form a social movement industry pooling and dividing resources across the cause. The point is that movement rarely act alone. They exist within ecosystems of organizations that share, compete for, and combine resources. Now, here is where I want to bring in our running example and raise a genuine puzzle, and this will be my discussion point for you. Classic resource mobilization theory, as McCarthy and Zold framed in places heavy emphasis on money and informal centralized organizations, and the theory tends to suggest that organized, well-resourced, and centralized movements are more effective than loose, decentralized ones. But look at our Gen Z protest. Nigeria's hashtag #EndSARS movement, for example, was famously leaderless. It was horizontal, not hierarchical, organized almost entirely through Twitter and crowdfunding rather than a formal headquarters. The March for Our Lives movement in the United States is sparked by students rather than an established advocacy organization, mobilized millions with comparatively little formal infrastructure. There was often no single formal organization at all behind these movements, so a sharp question arises. Do the Gen Z movements actually break resource mobilization theory? My answer, and you are free to disagree, which is exactly the point, is no. They don't break it, but they do force us to update it. What the Gen Z wave really shows is dramatic shift in the balance of resources away from the material and toward the non-material. These movements may have lacked money and formal organization, but they were extraordinarily rich in non-material resources, vast digital networks, viral public attention, more legitimacy, and a powerful sense of shared solidarity. The war chest didn't disappear, it went digital. The resources that mattered most were no longer dollars in a bank account, but followers, shares, and the moral authority of a generation. In fact, the literature notes that resource mobilization is one of the few social movement frameworks that has always paid explicit attention to information and communication. So, extending it to digital resources is very much in the spirit of the theory. It's worth pausing on why this matters beyond academic debate. If you were advising a real movement today, resource mobilization theory would tell you something very practical. Don't just ask whether your cause is just, ask whether you have organized the resources to win. Where will your funding income come from? Who are your committed members versus your casual sympathizers? What networks can you top? Do you have legitimacy in the eyes of the public and the media? McCarthy and Zold's framework essentially hands activists and the Gen Z movements, whether consciously or not, were brilliant at the non material and half of that checklist. They understood that in a connected world, attention and solidarity can substitute, at least for a time, for money and formal structure. That tension between the classic emphasis on money and organization and the digital reality of modern movements and between resources and role grievance is exactly what keeps this theory alive and debated today. So, your third card is the war chest, the full set of resources, both material and non material, and that a movement must gather to act, whether those resources are dollars and offices or followers and solidarity. No movement moves without them. So, your third card is the here's our level 3 unlock challenge. Do leaderless digital movements confirm resource mobilization theory or break it? Take it aside and defend it using McCarthy and Zold and the material or non-material distinction. Mark level 3 unlocked in your comment to move on to level 4. In mobilization, timing is everything. For that, over to Danica. In mobilization, timing is everything. For that, over to Danica. In mobilization, timing is everything. For that, over to Danica. Thank you for playing along. Now let's move on to level 4.